Hello and welcome to Planet 40k. Today's video voted on by our Patreons was a question. What is the best Lord of the Death Guard character in the new Death Guard Codex? Now before we begin, if you would like to get involved in these polls that direct what videos we do with the channel, then check out our Patreon. There's many more benefits on the website, but the polls are a favourite within the community, which means you're getting the reviews and the videos that you want to see. Okay, on to today's video. We must point out the latest Death Guard FAQ, which states that the Demon Prince has lost its Lord of the Death Guard keyword. So this is quite significant because the Infernal Jealousy ability, which is a Death Guard detachment ability located on page 40, states that each detachment can have a maximum of one Lord of the Death Guard unit. But now that the Demon Prince has lost that keyword, it's actually a buff to the Codex, so it can now be taken alongside one of the Death Guard units. Whereas before you can only have either a Demon Prince or one of the Lords of the Death Guard. And if your detachment required 2 or more HQs, then you were forced to take either the Playcaster or the Sorcerer in Terminator Armor as your second HQ. So now that we have the FAQ out the way, let's look at the units that we're going to be talking about today. There are 5 in total. We've got Typhus, we've got a Death Guard Chaos Lord, a Death Guard Chaos Lord in Terminator Armor, the Lord of Virulence, and the Lord of Contagion. So let's get all 5 of these on the screen to begin with the comparison, starting off with their points cost. So as you can see, Typhus is 165 points or 9 power, the Chaos Lord is 85 points base cost or 5 power, the Terminator Chaos Lord is 105 at base cost or 6 power level, then the Lord of Virulence is 120 at 6 power level, and also the Lord of Contagion is 120 at 6 power level. So the power level includes the maximum upgrades, hence why the Terminator Lord is 105 point yet he's 6 power, because it's going to include his options. So just bear in mind all these points costs as we go through the video. So stat wise, I'm not going to go through all the stats because we'll be here all day, but I'm going to display all 5 of them on the screen for you. Only 1 out of the 5 is not a Terminator model, which is the standard Chaos Lord, so he moves at 6 inches as opposed to 5 inch. Now all are weapon skill 2 and ballistic skill 2, as well as strength 4 and toughness 5. Now the wounds slightly differ, again due to the Terminator keyword. So the regular Chaos Lord has only 5 wounds as opposed to 6 wounds. All have 5 attacks except for Typhus, who's on 6. And they've all got match and leadership of a leadership 9. And finally, all have a 2+ armor save, again due to being Terminator, except for the standard Chaos Lord, which is only a 3+ armor save. So you can see already that the Chaos Lord, although he's the cheap option, he does suffer with the stats, having 1 less wound, 1 less attack, and only a 3+ save. Thankfully, he still does have the 4+ invar like the other models, which is with his Sigil of Corruption. Now the other models have Disease Terminator Armor, which is basically the same thing, it's a 4+ invar save. So a simple way to break down the comparisons for the 5 units is to separate them into smaller pairs. The Chaos Lord and the Chaos Lord in Terminator Armor I'm going to consider pair 1. Then the Lord of Virulence and the Lord of Contagion I'm going to consider as pair 2. Typhus for the time being we're going to leave to one side as his own entity. Think of it like a semi-finals in a playoff tournament. On one side is pair 1 and the other is pair 2, and the winners can face off each other to determine whether or not they can overthrow the main man, Typhus. So pair 1, which is the Chaos Lord and the Chaos Lord in Terminator Armor. They're basically the same, except that the Terminator Armor model costs 20 points more at base cost. So we need to work out which one is the better option, points for points. The regular Lord has a bolt pistol and an Astartes chainsword along with the blight grenades and crack grenades. He can upgrade to numerous melee weapons, but also has access to a plasma pistol and the combi weapons too. The Terminator variant comes with a combi bolter and power axe, no grenades here, which isn't the biggest of deals as they're rarely used. His upgrades aren't as versatile though, as he's only got access to a combi melter, lightning claws, a power fist or a chain fist. It's worth noting here that the regular Chaos Lord upgrades are twice as pricey as his default stock that are going to be exchanged in are quite cheap, whereas the Terminator is trading in better weapons. So it's like the model's getting a bit of a discount. For example, the regular Chaos Lord's combi melter upgrade is 10 points, whereas the Terminator Chaos Lord's combi melter is only 5 points. So this is definitely something to consider when we compare the units points for points. A weapons tax has already been paid by the Terminator model. Both models have the malicious volleys ability, but the regular Chaos Lord needs to remain stationary to shoot double shots at full range, whereas the Terminator version doesn't, as he simply is a Terminator. And the other key difference in the abilities is Teleport Strike that the Terminator has, which gives you much more flexibility to your plan of action, especially if you're fielding other Terminator units with the same Deep Strike ability, and you can take your Terminator Chaos Lord with them while buffing them with the Lord of the Death Guard aura. There's also a stratagem that is unlocked with Terminator models such as the Vermin Whisperers, allowing you to have a +1 to hit for only 1 CP. It's only really going to apply if you've got a negative modifier placed on your model, as he's already got weapon skill and ballistic skill of 2. The other stratagem is Break Their Spirits for 1 CP, which is each model killed by your Terminator Chaos Lord is a -4 to their leadership instead of a -1. Now it's not the biggest deal again, but it is a slight edge over the standard Lord. So that's the only real differences here between the first two models of the list. Basically for 20 points you get an extra wound, a 2+ save, and you get deep strike, and you've already paid a bit of tax towards those weapon upgrades. So you're going to be getting them for slightly cheaper, although your options are not as open. Personally, I'd pay the points for just for deep strike alone, but then you're getting all those extras on top, so it's a no-brainer to me. Okay, you can't have a combi plasma or combi flamer for example, or a bale sword, but those options aren't the meta right now anyway. Melters deal damage, and in melee you want something big, and you've got those to select from. Now the bale sword might have a good AP, but it's still damage 1 at the end of the day. I'd only select the regular lord if I'm planning on foot slogging with plague marines up the board. Then there's no need to invest 20 more points, as the lookout cert will be in effect with your plague marines and they're tough as nails. So for me, the Terminator Chaos Lord wins this bout. As for pair 2, the Lord of Contagion versus the Lord of Virulence. Both are the same cost. Now the Lord of Virulence has the Master of Destruction aura, which affects core units and makes ranged weapons that score 6s to wound get an additional -1 AP modifier, which is okay I guess, not spectacular. The Lord of Contagion's unique ability is Vector of Disease, which adds 3 inches to his contagion range to a maximum of 12 inch. Now this ability I do value much more than the Master of Destruction ability, because the toughness modifier can be huge for all units targeting anyone caught up in that Contagion of Nurgle ability. In terms of weapons, the Lord of Virulence has the Twin Plague Spewer, which is a heavy 2d6, strength 5, -1 AP, and it auto hits and is a plague weapon. And the Plague Claw on top, which is his melee weapon, which is basically a plague power fist. It's strength 8, -3 AP, and the 2 damage, rerolling 1s as well. Anything up to toughness 5 gets wounded on 2s due to its contagion, and as I mentioned, rerolling 1s. So there's a really good option in Deadly Pathogens called Vicious Death, which is only 10 points, and it turns that weapon into a strength 6 weapon, and it also gets you to reroll the amount of attacks you get for the weapon. Now the Lord of Contagion's datasheet does have a weapon switch, which is 5 points more. The standard stock weapon is a Plague Reaper, which is similar to a Plague Claw, but has a better damage of damage 3. This can be exchanged for a Man Reaper and an Orb of Desiccation, and the Man Reaper itself has 2 profiles, one which is more anti-elite and the other is anti-horde. The anti-elite profile of the Man Reaper is called Cleave, and this is strength 7, -3 AP, and the damage is 2. Again, that contagion ability will kick in, meaning anything that is toughness 4 will sink to toughness 3. And you're going to be wounded on 2s, rerolling 1s. Also works well against toughness 7 vehicles, as it's bringing them down to toughness 6, meaning you're wounded on 3s. The second profile of the weapon is the Scythe, which is strength 5, -1 AP and 1 damage, and you get to have twice as many attacks with it. So his base attacks are 5, meaning you'll be getting 10 attacks in total with the Scythe, which is perfect for horde units. Now the Orb of Desiccation is a grenade, which in fact is the only grenade he can carry. He's got no blight grenades here or crack grenades, but this grenade is 3d3 shots at strength 4, -1 AP, and the damage is 2, which will have the blast keyword and is a plague weapon. The only issue is it's a once per battle item. So you're averaging 6 shots with it when using it, which is helpful, but you really want your Man Reaper with your Lord of Contagion. That's what you're paying 5 points for really. Both models gain access to pretty much the same things. Now there are a few things here that differ. The Lord of Virulence interacts slightly better with Blight Bombardment, which usually would cost you 3 CP, but with him it's discounted to 2 CP. Then the other only difference is in the relic section. The Lord of Contagion's Plague Reaper can be switched out for a Reaper of the Glorious Entropy, which is now the same stats except 6s to wound cause mortal wounds on top. And there's also a no -1 to hit modifier too, which is pretty good. So this one's quite difficult to call, as one's more shooty that can handle itself in combat and has a reasonable ability, whereas the other one is more choppy with no range, but definitely has a better ability. So it kind of depends on the rest of your army build really. With these two I can imagine them coming in from Deep Strike, surrounded by Blight Lord Terminators or Death Shroud Terminators, all kitted out. Now I personally like the Lord of Virulence with the 12-inch Twin Plague Spewer, so I'm going to give the Lord of Virulence a nod and let him win this bout. Now if I was to put him up against the previous winner, which is the Chaos Terminator Lord, the Terminator Lord would need a Combi Melter and either the Power Fist or a Change Fist just to compete, which is going to put him up to 115 points or 120 points depending on which melee weapon you select. The Combi Melter is nice, but it's more anti-tank. It's not a plague weapon either, nor is your Chain Fist or Power Fist in fact, so it's settling for non-plague weapons at best. Not only that, the Plague Claw with the Lord of Virulence is 2 damage, whereas the Chain Fist is D3, and the Power Fist does match the stats, but again it's not plague, so you're not rerolling 1s. All the abilities he has, the Lord of Virulence also has, except the Lord of Virulence also has the Master of Destruction aura, as already mentioned. Then also, as already mentioned, the added bonus of the Blight Bombardment stratagem, and furthermore the Lord of Virulence is going to have access to all 7 of the deadly pathogens, whereas the Terminator can't because he doesn't have any plague weapons. So unfortunately this is an easy win for the Lord of Virulence. So step up to the plate, Typhus. He's got 4 additional abilities which we need to mention now. So first is the Host of the Destroyer Hive. Done in the command phase, you select one enemy unit within 6 inches, and on a 2+, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Pretty awesome. Not only is this just a freebie, but it could potentially get him out of combat, because it could kill an enemy unit, and then he's free to move in his movement phase and charge someone else that same turn. Then he's got the Master of the Dead Who Walk, which is an aura for Poxwalker units within 6 inches, to get a +1 to their strength, making them all strength 4. Also very nice, this gives him that versatility. If he didn't want to come in deep striking, he can still be foot slogging in a unit of Poxwalkers. The third is Herald of Nurgle, which allows him to not affect your detachment, as he doesn't actually have the play company keyword, as he belongs to the Harbinger play company. And finally, the fourth one is the Vector of Disease. Like the Lord of Contagion, it's a 3-inch range boost to all contagion abilities. Now this will include his Harbinger Contagions too, which is in fact his set warlord trait, which deals mortal wounds to enemy units within contagion range on a 4+. Now if you roll a 6, it's D3 mortal wounds, and this is done in your opponent's movement phase. So he comes in with the same stat line as the Lord of Virulence, except he gets 1 extra attack. He does have the Mastercrafted Man Reaper and the Blight Grenades. However, there's not really much range here. The melee weapon again has 2 profiles like the Lord of Contagion, except the cleave profile is damage 3, not damage 2, as it's Mastercrafted. Then lastly is a Psyker that knows 2 psychic powers from the Contagion discipline along with Smite, and can cast 2 and deny 2. So in terms of points, Typhus is 45 points more than the Lord of Virulence, or an additional 3 power. You get all those extra bonus we've just mentioned. Now that Plague Company in particular works quite well with Poxwalkers, as they've got a stratagem that allows them to reroll hits for Poxwalkers. And then when Typhus is bumping them up to strength 4 and rerolling everything, it's not that bad. There's also a couple of extra stratagems in the book that really help Poxwalkers go, which we'll save that for another day. Then of course getting those psychic abilities, which are most likely where most of the 45 points have gone, and of course you're getting that extra attack too. The Lord of Virulence does however have access to deadly pathogens, where Typhus does not. I think this one sort of depends on your list. Now a foot slogging Poxwalker list is 100% made for Typhus, or if you're not using one of the other psychers in the Codex, then you might want him just for purely the psychic abilities. But if you're coming in with the deep strike, then the Lord of Virulence will do just fine. He won't do as good, but you are saving 45 points, which could be put somewhere else in your list. So really what I'm trying to say is, if you want to pay the premium for the Psyker, then Typhus is definitely worth it points for points, as he's doing all the things that a Lord of the Death Guard will do and more. But if you are using a support Psyker in your list, such as a Malignant Plaguecaster, then the Lord of Virulence is points for points your best option. Unless of course you want loads of different Psykers running around the board, but that can be quite expensive. So points for points, there's that phrase again. I'd stay with the main man himself, Typhus. He's doing tons of work, very versatile with a Horde army, all your Terminators, which are a big part of the Death Guard Codex. Lots of extra abilities are thrown in, and you can't ignore his psychic abilities. For me, he's still the top dog in this Codex, but I definitely have the Lord of Virulence as a solid second place. That's my thoughts on the Lords of the Death Guard. Let me know how you rank them below, from first place right down to 5th. Just so that we can all compare opinions. We've all got different playstyles and army builds, so it'd be pretty cool to see how they compare. Anyways guys, hit that like button and sub if you are new. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.